Today we're going to be starting up my freshly built engine for the first time since it got rebuilt, and I'm going to show you guys the process that my engine builder gave me to break this thing in. The first thing is I unplug the injectors, and now I'm going to crank it and make sure it cranks because I haven't done that since I put it all back together. I'm going to also build up the oil pressure, and everything should be good and we should be able to start it right up. So it's getting late and it's Sunday night. It cranks. I'm gonna charge the battery up some more. I already charged it last night, but I'll charge it up some more and then next weekend we'll do the full start. Now I'm gonna start it for real.
All right, I'll make sure nothing blows up. Did you kill it? Started.
I was surprised. I was like, oh yeah, no problems. And then now it's doing this. I don't think I plugged the injectors and coils back in.
Nope, injectors aren't in.
Alright, so we just got it up to temperature. Now we're cooling it back down. Once it's cooled back down, then we're going to get back up to temperature again, and we'll cool it down again, and then we're going to do our first oil change. Another thing my engine builder recommended is using this on the break-in, so I did that as well. It's cooled down. We just checked over some things, made sure everything was okay while it was cooled down, and now we're going to start it back up again.
I think it might be the belt.
Yeah, that's absolutely rubber burning. The spacing could be a little off. We had a problem with the alternator, so I just swapped it out for my old one, and now we're gonna give it another try.
We're gonna fuck it. I'm gonna circumcise you with a screwdriver. That's how it should sound.
So when we first started it up, I guess the air control valve was not plugged in. I think it wasn't plugged in for the other first start, but we got that good. It sounds like it's running really good. That was our second heat cycle. We want it to cool down a little bit. We're gonna drain the oil, then we're gonna put some new oil in it, and then we're gonna drive around for 50 miles, come back, change the oil again, and then we put our 400 miles on it, and then we're done with break-in. Sounds good. Sounds like it did before it blew up.
Right.
If you have the excessive SR oil pan adapter with the Greddy pan, it's 5 quarts. I also have an oil cooler too, but it's 5 quarts. The oil pan adds 1 quart. We already added the additive in.
Replace 1 quart for 1 gallon of milk. It's good for it. If it's good for the bones, it's good for your car.
All right, guys. Not a good day. Where do I start? Last weekend was the last time that I recorded, and we went and took the 240 out for its first test drive. We made it a little bit down the road. My hydro was not like fully disengaged, so the rear brakes were heating up. It smelled bad. Pulled over, Took the center console apart, just backed off the rod a little bit, which you're not even gonna be able to see, but actually you can. I just backed that off more. We got that fixed, and then we kept running into a problem where there is a draw with my car and my battery kept dying. I bought a new battery, put it in, still doing it. I got some ideas on how to fix that. Drove it around a decent amount last weekend, put some miles on it, found some things that I wanted to work on this weekend. It's Sunday, Friday, and Saturday were shitty outside, so I just spent that time working on the car. I had my things planned that I wanted to work on that we found from the last weekend, and today we were gonna go drive it for the first time. I didn't even get to drive the car that much. I maybe drove the car 4 or 5 miles today, and I was driving down the street. It was like I was going maybe like 30 miles an hour, just cruising in third. Car's running beautifully. I have not loaded the car up like at all the whole time since the engine rebuild. Like I've been doing everything perfect, like I've been showing you guys how to do in this video. And I'm just driving, cruising, and all of a sudden the car just, I feel a ton of drag in the engine, and it felt like it blew up. It was just, when you let off the gas and the engine brakes, it was like that, but like times 2. There was just a ton of drag, and then all of a sudden the turbo starts spooling up like crazy. I quick turned the key off, put it in neutral, and this is like the busiest street in town. There's cars all over. Thankfully my friends were there to help me push the car out of the way, but we went back to my house, got some tools, and I brought the breaker bar, tried to turn the engine over, and it was locked up. Very stressful situation. I'm still like shooken up about it. Got the car towed back home. My first suspicion was that the Tome cams broke, but that is not the case. Everything looks great in here. Spark plugs are not smashed. They all look like this. Maybe a little lean, but we also have a little bit bigger exhaust housing on the car. I'm not loading it up, so I really don't think it's that much of a deal or much of a problem to be driving around untuned with a slightly bigger exhaust housing. Since I'm not loading it up, I'm not getting into boost, we're literally just breaking in the engine. Nothing seems to be wrong with the engine, it just doesn't turn over. So me and big brother Jordan decided to do a little test where I put the car in first, clutch in, and the car does not roll. The car does not move. If you put the car in neutral, it does move. So what that tells me is that there is something wrong with the clutch and not the engine, which is absolutely best case scenario here. But I will happily take a clutch problem, clutch failure, whatever, over my engine blowing up again. Next weekend, me and the boys are gonna pull the transmission out again, which I'll show you in this video, and we're gonna find out what's wrong with the clutch. Man, I'm just really happy that it seems like the engine is okay. I really appreciate all the nice words from everyone on Instagram who saw my story, and if you're not following me on Instagram, I don't shout my Instagram out ever, but I'll put it right here, Meme Lord Jord. I post a lot more on there, and I like to only post a lot of bigger things that I can make videos on the channel, but a lot of the smaller stuff that I like to do, I'll post on my story, and you guys can see that there. I'm gonna pick the camera up next weekend. We took the transmission out, and it spun freely, it spun fine. I took a breaker bar, I tried spinning over the crank by hand, and the engine was still locked up, even though there was no transmission or no clutch flywheel on it. Then we drained the oil, and it was full of metal, bearing material, which just basically confirmed that the motor did in fact get trashed. Talked to the engine builder, he told me to take it out, bring it to him, so that's what I did. Pulled the engine out, brought it to him. The problem ended up being that when I went to put the clutch on and I went to align the clutch discs, this was my first twin disc, and I accidentally only had one of the clutch discs aligned. We spent probably about like 5 hours, an entire afternoon, like aligning this, and everything seemed perfect, and the transmission just would not go on. As a last resort, I used the bell housing bolts to mate the transmission to the engine. I've heard a lot of people say that, especially with like SRs and KAs, that twin discs can be really finicky, and when you go to put the transmission on, sometimes you'll have to use the bell housing bolts to get it on. It's one of those things, kind of like the blow-off valve versus no blow-off valve debate, where depending on who you ask, you'll get a different answer. Some people say never run no blow-off valve, and those people say I've been running no blow-off valve for 10 years and I've never had a single issue. And that's the same thing, I think, with the whole using the bell housing bolts. You have people who will say that they've done it a ton of times and they never had any problems, which I actually had people message me and tell me that they'll take all the times that they did it and didn't have any problems as a win, because the one time that I did it, the engine is a total loss. Bearing material in the oil basically trashed the entire engine, and the whole engine is a loss. So I guess I never told you what went wrong. When we did that, it went on, and then I realized what I did wrong, took it off, used the clutch alignment tool, went in perfect, transmission went on perfectly. There were 2 times that we took the transmission off, put it back on, or whatever, maybe it was only 1 time, but even then it just went right on, no issues. It lined up like perfectly. But that first time we did it, we crushed the thrust bearing, and yeah, and then I was also having weird things happening with my clutch, and I think that was just like thrust in the crank that was making my clutch not fully disengage. Bearing material scored up the cam journals enough to need a new head. Thankfully, my engine builder and I have a friend who he built a built bottom end for, but then our friend decided to stay stock K for this year, so that engine was just sitting on the side ready to go, and that is the bottom end that we're going to be using. And I just bought a head, so that's on its way. My engine builder is getting married soon, so he has time to do this now and he wants to just bang it out, so hopefully this will be a really quick thing. I had Tomei USA cams in the engine, and I really did not feel good about having those in the engine, because if you know, you know. So we're gonna be putting, I think, some Brian Crowder cams in it. I feel really good about this new engine, and I feel really good about everything moving forward, because aside from that whole thing with the engine blowing up, the car drove great. A lot of like the little gremlins were gone. The car felt the best it's ever felt. There's a lot of people who've been saying, like, blaming the engine builder or whatnot, or he should make it right, or he should like cover it if it's his problem. And that is something that we talked about. If it was something that he caused, he would take care of it for me. But the last time the engine blew up, it was because of the timing chain tensioner being faulty. So that was not his fault, so I paid for that. And this time, this was my fault. I will take full responsibility for that. Not gonna blame anyone. This is not bad luck. That was me. I made a mistake. In hindsight, it was a really stupid mistake. I just tried aligning the clutch with the pilot bearing on the clutch alignment tool. I don't know why I thought that was part of the clutch alignment tool, but there was just so much going through my head, and it's just, I made the mistake, and I'm never gonna make that mistake again. And it cost me a lot of money. Also, the turbo is smoked. I just spent $700 getting the turbo rebuilt, and it is now honestly worse than it was before I had it rebuilt when it blew up the last time. So that's out getting rebuilt. The next video that you see of this car, the new engine will be in it. It will be running, and I'm not gonna show you me putting it back together again. I'm sick of making these kinds of videos. I just wanna make the kind of videos that I enjoy, because I don't really enjoy these garage videos or me explaining why my engine blew up because of something stupid, and why we can't make videos of us ripping on this thing and having fun. But like I said, this should be up and running pretty soon, and we'll see you then. So I got a lot of things I want to say, but I think I should just keep it short, and I'll see you when this thing is running again. Thank you for all the support.